Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Tonight, love, death, and dysfunctional superhero families, and more. But first, how's it going, everybody? How are you two doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
I'm here.
Awesome. What's going out there? What's going on? Well, I've got to give it a moment. I was about to say, what's going on, chat? But we just went live. They're not even here yet. Yeah, so as I alluded to, here's what we're going to talk about. Basically, hey, Savannah, you're here. Savannah, just moments ago, we're like, we need to hurry up and get going. We need to get going live. People are probably mad. And Melanie's like, well, Savannah's probably mad anyway. Yep. We missed last week because we're old and tired.
Yep. We're still old and tired, but we're here.
We're here. And so we've got some catching up to do. There's actually been quite a bit of stuff we've been watching between the three of us and consuming interesting new stuff. We're kind of in a swing. I feel like we're finally getting that pulling out of the lull that was the entertainment pandemic slump, you know.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just stuff that
was already there, and we just discovered it.
No, because I mean, in some cases, but no, for the most part. So we're gonna talk about some recent watches, and it's all new stuff, with the exception of the movie that you and I watched, Melanie. Okay. That's not new. In fact, that's something I think Jesse recommended to us.
I'm excited.
A year ago.
Been waiting for you guys to watch that forever because it's so full of stuff, and then it just goes on a bus or a crazy train to nowhere, and you're just like, what did this movie just become?
Oh, that was. I knew there was something else I wanted to add into the intro. I was going to mention horse people. Although we should maybe try to not be super spoilery when we do talk about it. It's not a new movie, but that does come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
It's nowhere.
It's not in the trailers.
No.
Yep.
Savannah, you've been on TikTok. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
how are you and Jesse both? How are you doing, Jesse? How's your TikTok going? I see you. You add your TikToks to your Facebook stories, so that's how I see them sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I'm up to 606 followers now, so there you go.
Yeah.
I'm trying for 1,000 because once you get 1,000, it's one of those gateway things where you got to hit a certain benchmark before they allow you to do lives.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, so long as they don't keep moving that benchmark back, YouTube.
Right.
Oh, here, you're a partner. Here you go. Oh, you know what? No, you're not. You're not. None of you guys are. You're all a little. Never mind. Yes. Never mind. What were you going to say, Melanie?
Nothing. It's fine.
Melanie's sister loves TikTok.
Yeah,
TikTok.
I try not to watch TikTok, but it bombards me all day, every day.
It's the new place to watch cat videos. So I don't know.
So now that us old people have, now that it's just commonplace for old people, where are the kids going to go next? Because
they'll go back to Snapchat or something.
Oh. Snapchat's still a thing, man.
Somehow, yeah.
I was actually experimenting with, mainly because I wanted to put together a weird little video for one of my sister's birthdays. But you can make your own Snapchat lenses, and they have a software for it, Snapchat Lens Studio or whatever, and you can download it and you can do some crazy stuff. Well, I downloaded it so that I could take a picture of my sister's face, cut it out, and then wear it on my face and make a creepy video about wearing her face. So, but yeah, I don't know. I've been messing around.
That's what Snapchat. That's like their claim to fame. They had the best filters in terms of that.
Mm-hmm. It's surprisingly easy to. I mean, it takes a little bit of work, but like some of the Snapchat filter stuff is pretty advanced, and it's surprisingly, like, their software makes it surprisingly easy to design your own. Again, it takes a little bit of doing, but the tools, like, I mean, I don't know. I look into random stuff all the time, how to mod this game or how to make this thing, and
how to wear your sister's face in the mask.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly easy, that one. It does. I mean, it doesn't look good, but it was never going to look good.
Right.
but you know, a lot of there's tools to make those things easier. Snapchat's got it, man. Most of the tools are still like, there's a learning curve. Snapchat, not that there's not, they do pretty well at making it accessible to people. Savannah said, I made myself look super old today, and I'm resisting the urge to throw out a burn. So I won't. That'd be insensitive. Plus, Savannah's considerably younger than we are anyway. So
Right.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't land. That's people in glass houses and all.
I don't know why anybody would want to live in a glass house. That'd be such a pain in the butt. I mean, I don't even windows, you know.
I'm just cleaning it. Just clean it. Like, you'd have to. It'd be, well, I guess maybe that'd be easier than wiping down your walls, cleaning windows, but you'd have to do it all the time because you'd see it.
Yeah.
Savannah doesn't want windows at all.
I could have windows as long as they could be like, you know how that zombie house where you hit a button and like all these steel walls go up around the house and block it off from anybody?
Right.
That's what I need.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd
Yes,
be
it
cool.
would.
And I want it to look brutalist. It needs to look like the boxy concrete.
They should paint it Fanta black.
Yeah, like the darkest black.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It'll just look like a hole in the ground.
Sweet. We're gonna get coyotes falling onto a roof all the time.
I was just gonna say Acme portable hole.
So, Jesse, is this your last week of school also?
This is my last week of school. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so the kids were done on Monday and we are done tomorrow. Tomorrow's our last contract
Oh.
day.
Well,
So-
yay. Hooray.
Yay.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna sleep for about a week or get sick or do both. I'll probably do both. That's kind of the tradition, is that I'll get sick like a week after I get out or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
You get away from all the germs and your body freaks out.
right. My body, like, I've been so stressed out and that I'm just like holding back all the germs, and then I stopped stressing out and it was like all the germs.
Yep.
Savannah says she looks into people's houses as she passes by, and so she knows others are doing the same to her, so she doesn't want windows. You're right. People are doing the same to you. I like to see what people are watching on TV, but I think that's a boring voyeur characteristic.
I feel like you guys' driving experience has become a Hitchcock movie somehow.
It's like rear windows, but it's front windows.
Yeah,
as we
front
drive
windows
by.
and side windows.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see me riding around with binoculars, don't worry about it.
Yes.
And don't question it. I just want to see what you're watching on TV.
Yeah. What you been watching? It's for my podcast. We talk about what we've been watching. I've been watching you.
What a weirdo. You know what? I never thought about it, but I've always done that. I always like when I walk by houses, you know, it's the right time of evening. It's getting dark. You can see their TV glow through the TV or through the windows. I'm always like, what are they watching? And then now, years later, doing a podcast. Hey guys, what you watching?
Yeah. They're all watching true crime.
Oh,
Yeah.
crap. You're right though.
I know.
Crap. They all watching garbage. It's always CSI or Law and Order. Savannah says, "Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, exactly."
There's nothing wrong. Law and Order is amazing, and I love it. So, you shut your mouth.
Dun dun.
I know. Dun dun.
So, while we're still on random stuff, Jesse was talking about germs, and it got me thinking. Not that anybody cares, but Melanie and I are both now one shot deep into our vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So in just like a week, let me look here. Just over a week, I'll get my second one, and then I think Melanie's got about
A month.
a month left. She just got her first one.
Yeah. Well, and we almost got into a fight. Not really, but a little bit with the pharmacy place, because I set up my appointment and there were 29 empty slots left. So I'm like, Susie, we're gonna grab the kids and we're all gonna go, put your name in for a slot and then do the kids. So she put her name in. So we're both signed up, and then we go to do the kids, and then they say that there's no openings, and we're like, those liars. And we wanted to, fight with them, but it was because they didn't have the Pfizer, and that's the only one that is approved for kids under 18. So
Right.
we didn't have to go to another location.
Sorry, guys. I just realized I need to do a little bit of my pimpage.
All right.
So before we dive into our primary topic, which looks like we haven't really even discussed this, but it looks like it'll be Love, Death, and Robots season 2. Yeah, because we binged it. It's a shorter season than the first season.
I was shocked. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to get this all done." And then I was like, "Oh, I'm totally going to get this done."
Yeah.
So we'll dive into that, but first, let's kind of do a little bit of our not lesser shows, because some of these shows were great, but the other stuff that we were watching before we dive into Love, Death, and Robots, because I noticed Jesse here in our notes has he's listed each episode title and description, so I'm like, that's looking like a list episode to me.
Well, I just remember last time we tried to do volume 1, and it was like you couldn't remember them all because it was 18 episodes. This is a little easier to do, but it was like, I'm inevitably going to forget something.
When we watched this, I thought that it was like the third season or something, because the first one was so much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. It was way longer.
It was 10 episodes longer. I think it was like 18 episodes. And this was 8. And one of them was like 7 minutes long.
And there weren't really all that many robots.
Really? There wasn't, yeah.
There's lots of death.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that later. So what are we talking about now?
Okay, so let's run through a couple of the things we've watched recently or consumed recently.
Okay.
And I'll start because not that we couldn't say a lot about it, but we've already talked a bit about Invincible. I don't remember if we've talked about it since Melanie and I finished the first season.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a couple weeks, but it's also been a couple weeks since we did the show. I don't really have much to say other than I liked it, and it is already renewed for seasons 2 and 3, so I'm glad.
Yeah, I liked it, and I made my nephew watch it, and he didn't want to watch it, but now he loves it. So, yeah.
It kind of ties into what could have been the theme this episode, and it is a little bit of, and I didn't realize it till we were watching Jupiter's Legacy, which is another thing. Melanie and I watched through, not in one sitting at all, but Jupiter's Legacy season 1. We finished that.
Mm-hmm.
And watching Jupiter's Legacy, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is like, that's a new genre, is the family drama superhero show.
I fired up just the first episode tonight just to get a little bit of the flavor, and I was like, oh, so
Dude,
kind of Invincible,
Uh-huh.
not, but kind of.
oh yeah, no, there's a lot of parallels between that and Invincible, and I would lump like The Boys in there, even though it's
Sure.
not really like a more typical family, like dysfunctional family thing, but kinda it's The Boys.
Right.
I think kind of The Incredibles too, because I mean, they are normal.
yeah.
They're not normal, but they're a superhero family, and they have lots of issues. And they are more closely knit, I feel like, maybe than Invincible is with his people. Well, I don't know, maybe
Right.
not. I don't know, but yeah, it is a genre.
So yeah, Invincible, Jupiter's Legacy, The Boys. What's the Academy one?
Umbrella
Umbrella
Academy.
Academy.
Hmm.
Basically, the adult superhero shows. You know, the intentionally not
The
not
Watchmen.
like not Zack Snyder's Justice League adult superhero shows, but the adult superhero shows usually based on like an indie comic that was more adult oriented to begin with. Watchmen, yeah, Watchmen doesn't. Watchmen is such its. That's kind of the proto. It's based on the prototype of what we're talking about, but it's consistently so its own thing. It's in its own class.
Right.
And I-
Alan Moore. Surprise, surprise. He's in his own class.
Yeah, and I would say Jupiter's Legacy is probably the least adult of the adult ones. You know what I mean? Just because there is, adult material, but they don't go hardcore on any of it, really.
Oh yeah, it's not Invincible territory.
Right.
It's not The Boys, where its goal is not to be shocking. It is shocking sometimes, but its goal is not to be shocking. It's I don't know. So I know I started talking about Invincible. Listen, it's great. It's Invincible. The animated series changes the structure of the comic series, but otherwise retains most of what I like about it. Again, the main change that I kind of don't like from the comic is that they make his friend, his gay friend in school, his guy friend, he's out like before this show starts, and it makes sense. They're like, okay, well, we want to make sure that be inclusive. And in the comic, he is gay. You don't learn that till way later. And the reveal, I thought, was like one of my favorite weird out of nowhere, like, whoa, not that it's weird that he's gay, but my point is,
Right,
like
yeah.
that interesting turn with a character that I did not see coming. And so I was like, oh man, that's such a good like reveal, but yeah, it's fine.
In a
I
comic
get
that
it.
kind of made its bed surprising you with twists.
Yes.
It's interesting that they're like letting some of those secrets out just as part of the show.
Right. And like his friend was always such a fun character, and that like the way they handled it, it was just kind of made him more fun, and he's not as fun in the show. In fact, that's kind of a recurring thing is maybe their friends they focus a lot on the plot so that, and this is something we kind of criticized didn't criticize but commented on when we had only watched a few episodes, is it just doesn't, you don't get a good grasp on his friends' personalities because you just don't spend as much time with them. And I feel like the comic book does put a bit more time into them, but it's still great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jupiter's Legacy, I would say it is much more focused on that first episode. I was curious to hear what you thought of the first. It's rough because the show looks cheap. I mean, it does. There's parts where I think they put. You'll get a lot of flashbacks. Like there's basically like two plots going. There's modern day stuff and then there's flashback stuff. And I feel like a lot of their money probably went to the flashback stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
Stuff looks
definitely.
Even in the
good.
trailer, that stuff looks like
Right.
solid, like, oh, Golden Age. There's a lot of golden light too.
Yes. The superheroes, like the costume stuff looks not great.
Like
Yeah.
sky high kind of level.
Yeah.
That first episode especially, where they're fighting Black Star
Mm-hmm.
in Nebraska or wherever, which is just like a clearly digital map painting of just trees and open
Yeah.
area. I mean, not that that's not accurate, but listen, that did not look like Nebraska. It looked like a set. It looked like green screen with a clearly digital map painting.
They clearly just like blindfolded themselves and threw a dart at a board. Like, where are they fighting? Nebraska.
Yeah,
That's
that's
where.
like in the middle of the country, right? Okay.
Yeah. Boom.
So
Nailed it.
the wire work is not great. Like it looks cheap. The superhero stuff looks super cheap
Mm-hmm.
compared to a lot of other shows. Compared to The Boys or something.
Right.
But also the show seems less concerned with the concept of superheroes, it's all about it, but like the actual superhero activity, the costumes, like it's not concerned with that. It's just it just wants to be a family drama, dysfunctional family with this flashback mystery subplot kind of thing. And that's it. Like, it's not really, it's weird where it puts its focus.
Mm-hmm. And
The makeup is bad too.
yeah.
Well, yeah, Black Star looks like, I don't know. Just he doesn't look real. It's like,
Maybe
oh
it's
yeah,
an
he's wearing a rubber
intentional-
mask.
Mm-hmm.
It could be an intentional choice though, because yeah, the suits are bright and plasticky and gaudy, and maybe it's intentional. Maybe like, it's fine. It's they're make it super comic booky and like in a cheap, trashy way.
Well, it's the same guy that wrote Kick-Ass. So
Right.
Right.
But the old people makeup is the worst. It's just like a gray wig, and that's it.
right.
Nothing else.
And I think I get, yeah, and I did not key into this at first, but the idea is they like the people with powers live much longer, so they look young but old, or like in some cases they've done a little bit of old person makeup, and otherwise they just have gray hair. Some cases they didn't bother with the old people makeup. In one character,
He looks
he
younger.
actually looks younger now. He looks like a younger person with terrible old man gray hair. And it's like, oh, what are you doing? And then there's one character that I think they actually recast as an older guy. I'm like, why didn't they just do that with everyone?
Right.
Okay, so anyway,
It was
now
fun.
that we've trashed it a bit, I actually really liked it. I think I liked it a lot more than Melanie. It's not great. I think it's the least interesting of these dysfunctional superhero shows, but
I agree.
I liked it, and it was, I was okay with the like modern day drama stuff. It gets a little like, it's like, okay, you kind of have one or two notes to like rail on the whole time. There's not a lot of progression here, but the backstory stuff is where the hook was for me, I think.
It doesn't. I just don't get why. They go and become superheroes in the past, and they did explain that, and maybe they'll explain it later in future seasons. But suddenly there's superheroes all over the place. I didn't really understand that, and I don't see how they're going to explain it in a way that I will and like with the way that they ended up superheroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as Jesse mentioned, it's based on the comic was written by Mark Millar, Mark Millar.
And I've heard it both ways.
It was part of his big. I don't remember which indie label. Not one of the big two signed him for like a bunch of stuff, and I remember them promoting it as he was building the Millarverse, his own
Right.
superhero universe. And there's definitely world building going on, but yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff that's very unclear at this point. Like how the superheroes come to be is unclear, and that's kind of the big like mystery of the season a little bit. But we know who, and the fact that there were none, and then they got powers of some kind somehow. But yeah, it doesn't ever explain. And so a lot of the other not them people that we see that have powers are their kids, and that's kind of I remember from the comic series, I read the first issue or two when it first came out, and I remember that it's an intriguing idea. It's basically like the Justice League,
Hmm.
and then like their kids are supposed to like they need like because of how the superpowers pass along, their kids would ideally take over at a certain point.
Hmm.
Except their kids are basically super famous, spoiled Hollywood kids who don't really have a lot of interest in
Hmm.
superheroing and
Right.
just want to party and do drugs.
Right.
And that's an interesting concept, and it definitely hits on it. But I don't know. It's anyway. The series doesn't explore it in as interesting a way, and it doesn't explain a lot of things because there's a lot of people with superpowers that aren't explained.
Uh-huh. But you know, they like I said, maybe they're saving stuff for later seasons.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Hmm.
Anyway, I liked it.
Yep.
It's worth a watch. I don't think the dysfunctional superhero genre has been tapped out yet. This is definitely a little bit more standard than because so far that genre has been super interesting. The Boys is super interesting because it's a
It
little bit
subverts our expectations. It takes
Yes.
what we think we know about superheroes and then it does something else with it.
Hmm.
and it's both fun and horrifying. Legion was amazing and weird.
Uh-huh.
And Invincible is Invincible, so it's great. It's got a great plot, great crazy story.
Hmm.
And Umbrella Academy is also like it gets serious, but it's got more of a wacky, not wacky, but an offbeat comedy feel.
Uh-huh.
Right.
This one is a little bit more like your oh man, I don't a little bit like your One Tree Hill or your God. I don't know. It's
It's a CW show.
yeah, it's more TV
With
drama for
with
sure.
a little bit more, you know, I don't know, money maybe, but it has a CW show feel. So you know, that's okay sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I got one more pimpage to do.
Okay.
I'm going to share this on Facebook. Hey, everybody in the future listening, if you don't check out the live streams, and you don't, because where are you? Hit us up at 8:30ish Thursdays. Facebook.com/Grolix Podcast. We're also on YouTube and Twitch. Just throw a /Grolix Podcast and you'll find it. But I need to help you find it by sharing it somewhere, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna share it to Facebook.com/group/Grolix Podcast. That's right, the Grolix Podcast Facebook group. Go there.
You can see Maddie D calling us old. Speaking
Yep.
of Maddie D, hi Maddie D.
Hello, Matthew.
Is he here?
Yeah, he's here.
You know what?
Okay.
I just realized what your last name was, and I bet people made fun of you, and I'm sorry.
Matt. All right. What else do we got? Jesse, let's jump to
Yes.
you real quick. What have you been consuming? What have you been enjoying?
A couple of weird things. Other than Love, Death, and Robots, which we'll get to. Let's talk about the normal one first. Let's talk about Big Finish. Wow, everyone's surprised to listen to Big Finish. The Ninth Doctor Adventures came out. So this is Christopher Eccleston's return to the role of the Ninth Doctor. And so this is the first box set that we've had him. And it's interesting because we get we're getting the Doctor before Rose, because like listening to the behind the scenes, their thought process is essentially when we got the Ninth Doctor, it's kind of like we got his end days, like his final days were with Rose. So they wanted to explore, the time before Rose. So it's a little bit interesting. Like he's got kind of sort of a new companion, or a new to us companion. And the crux of the plot of this box set was this. And this seems to be kind of a trope in Doctor Who stories in general, but like the Ravagers are essentially this like sentient, I don't know, the sentient being or race of beings that essentially consume energy, and if left unchecked, they just devour the universe, kind of thing. And so the Ninth Doctor is trying to figure out how to like basically stem the tide of them just devouring everything. So it was kind of fun in that it started very much like the very first episode of Doctor Who when it returned, which is that they just kind of hit the ground running. Like they just it's very fast paced and action oriented for an audio drama that you can't see. But there was some, like they get their little Easter egg moments in there, like the first time that you hear them say "fantastic," and they don't overdo it, kind of thing. But you get that fantastic moment, and there was a quote, and I can't remember it, but it made me think specifically of Melanie, like something she particularly enjoyed about the Ninth Doctor, and I was like, oh, Melanie would like this.
I love the Ninth Doctor. He was great. I was
Yeah.
really sad that not just that he left, but that he was so like sour on it,
Right.
Because I like my men moody and unreasonable.
And it's kind of nice, like in the behind the scenes, and he's gone on record as to why he's kind of come back around full circle on this whole thing.
Money.
Well, I'm sure money's a part of it, but also, like he started going to the conventions and realizing the impact that Doctor Who had and all of that. But also he goes into like all the things that happened to him while he was filming. And it was like, God, no wonder he was mad. Like his father was essentially dying and they were just really jerks about it.
Really?
And he went into like, that's why Father's Day is one of his favorite stories in that season. Is super poignant for him.
You knew he couldn't stay away forever. I knew eventually. It took a while. It took a long time. I knew eventually Big Finish would snag him. I'm glad.
It took a while, but in Doctor Who time, it's really not that long.
Right. Well, like Tom Baker, Tom Baker was the one that we're like, yeah, we're never getting Tom Baker back again. And then he did. It was like, what? Tom Baker's back? No one thought that would happen.
And he loves it.
Yeah, he
they
does.
Can't get rid of him.
He's made a ton of new Fourth Doctor stuff since he came back.
Yep. They're just like, okay, just write a bunch of stories for him. He's up.
Yeah.
We need to get as many as we can. He's up for it. Yeah, no, this is awesome. I gotta listen to it. It's been too. I need to dive back into Big Finish because I'm missing good Doctor Who universe stuff because I haven't really dove into much of it since before the 13th Doctor stuff, and
Well, maybe it's just you listen to people talk all day, so it's a little harder to listen to someone talk about Doctor Who, or even if
Like
it is
audio
a Doctor
drama,
Who,
That's true. I mean, like work aside, I listen to far less podcasts than I used to in general too. So like,
I bet.
it's true. Music, even like it just,
Mhm.
it's like I don't want to listen to audio.
Right. That makes
Done.
sense. Makes sense.
I'll watch something or I'll play a game. No.
Did I talk about the 50th anniversary Master box set at all? I don't remember if I did on the
I
show.
think you did. Yeah.
Okay.
Eric Roberts is in there.
Everybody's in
all
there.
of them.
John Sims's Master is in there. Obviously, like Anthony Ainsley's Master is not in there, and neither is Roger Delgado's Master. But like they kind of sort of try to work it in. Like they have a chameleon robot disguised as Ainsley's Master.
Okay.
So that's how they try to work him in. But as part of that 50th anniversary set, they also had a audiobook as part of the deal. Like you got a whole nother story in there, and it was really good. And it's done by a voice actor who can do a really pretty good Roger Delgado impersonation. Third Doctor impersonation and Lethbridge Stewart impersonation. In fact, he does the Lethbridge Stewart on the main Third Doctor adventures,
Nice.
but he can do all of them. And it was like, wow. I mean, it's essentially Joe Grant that he's not very convincing at. Like, do better on that one. but otherwise, it was like really good.
Matty D says, according to another podcast that he listens to, that there are now more Big Finish stories of Tom Baker than there are actual TV episodes, which
Wow,
is saying something because he's obviously
he's
had
the longest tenured.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think every doctor that every living doctor that they've gotten on there, there's got to be more Big Finish stories than there are TV stories of almost any of them at this point. With the exception of, like, I guess the modern doctors.
Right.
Matty D says they should have hired you to play Anthony Ainley.
I am that kind of bad guy, though. Matty D is not wrong.
Hashtag Swamp Thing. Man, that was great. I need to rebuild my sound effects and audio Foley catalog.
Hey, you know what?
I've been thinking
Speaking of audio, there is a great new Humble bundle that happens to be like loops and sound stuff.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
you're
know
on the
that it's
ball,
sound
I know.
effects, but I do know that it has a number of like audio software bits and
sweet.
some fun loops. So for those podcasters out there, if you're looking for just bed music, that kind of stuff, there's some options there for you at Humble Bundle.
Oh, interesting. They've got a...
Lots of stuff.
Yeah,
There's also a Namco, I believe there's a Namco games bundle that I was like, oh, you said Namco. I love Namco.
There are some synthesizer plugins in this that I want.
You know,
And that's why we're a Humble partner, folks, because we buy a lot of Humble bundles. So we might as well,
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
we might as
yeah,
well
that's
get a
true.
kickback from our own purchases.
yeah.
Yeah, I was Mixcraft 8 home studio. I don't know about that, Dom, but
And
yeah,
you know, sorry, Maddie. Our segues are all natural. We don't plan this. We're just
No, there's nothing planned about this.
yeah. So hey, everybody, you should go to grolixpodcast.com/humble. Check out their Humble bundles, and they have a Mega Sound Designer Loop Crate Volume 2 Humble bundle. It's got a bunch of samples, which are useful in loops, especially if you don't make music yourself. That's a great way. Oh, there's a million, in all the Facebook podcast groups, everybody's like, why can't I use copyrighted music? Well, now more than ever, you can't use copyrighted music or uncleared music in your videos or your podcasts. And if you don't know why, you will eventually. You'll get removed from from podcast directories or YouTube or whatever.
Mhm.
This is usually, you still need to check licenses anytime you download anything, but this is a good way around it. You can, it's even if you're not a musician, you can either find some bed music or some loops and just put something together that sounds pretty decent and not worry about getting sued. So
Right.
Because the licenses through Humble Bundle usually are, like lifetime licenses, as long as you're
Right.
the one who purchased the bundle.
Right. Yeah, I'll probably pick up this one too, for sure. I didn't know. Man, you're on the ball on that one.
I'm on their newsletter, so every once in a while it'll be like, "Oh, what's this?" I really need to unsubscribe from it.
I am subscribed to a lot of newsletters. I actually just don't read any of them.
Right.
So
I'm a little bit that way with Humble Bundle, like, because maybe they just don't know to send me stuff about non like games or software ones. Although that falls into the software. But I'll get, like the newsletter type emails, but also we are also a Humble partner, by the way. If you go to growlixpodcast.com/humble, that is an affiliate link. We will get a small percentage. Hopefully they still have the sliders so that you can see what that percentage is and adjust it to your liking.
Oh, that's right. You even sent that could have been our news for tonight. But we don't want to talk smack about the thing we'll be honest about it though.
No, yeah. Well, that's the thing. We ever get like an actual sponsor, it'd be real interesting because it's hard for me to resist not being totally honest.
Right.
Because Humble Bundle, like I don't know the whole deal, but it seemed like they were getting rid of the sliders or going to get rid of the sliders, which is one of the things that I like a lot because it shows like it was just a matter of transparency for me,
right.
And it made it easier to promote these Humble Bundles for a company that was that transparent. But they kind of reversed their decision because people were upset about them getting rid of the sliders or changing how they worked. I don't know.
Yeah, it was harder to find, I think.
I know the last Humble Bundle I bought, I couldn't find the sliders. And I thought it was just me, but no, they were doing something weird with it. But they changed their mind. They listened to the people. So that's good.
Good.
Maddie D says he's only subscribed to the Costco newsletter. Yes, I want 45 pounds of coffee for $3.
Well, if you can do that, yeah. I mean, do you have to have the newsletter in order to get that deal? Is that the deal? Like this is just our newsletter deal for our super special Costco'ers?
Mm-hmm.
Costco'ers. Do you have a Costco koozie?
Hey, Melanie.
Yeah.
This is not a segue. I don't have a good segue. You just
I
finished.
did not set you up.
You just finished Castlevania Season 4, which apparently is the last season, the finale of the Netflix Castlevania animated series.
Uh-huh.
How was it?
It was okay. They did a little bit of, this is what they've been doing since last you saw them. And then they brought back a couple characters that you had thought were gone, like for good, like, other dimensional gone. But they're there and that's weird. And then, they're separated. So Alucard is in one place and the other two are traveling around somewhere else. And, but by the end, everybody's back together again and, fighting, vampires and death and other weird stuff. And then at the end, it's very strange. Like several impossible things happen and you kind of just end being like, that I never would have expected that to happen ever, but they decided to make it the super happiest, weirdest ending they could. So it's
Really?
interesting. Oh yeah.
Was it? Okay, so it was a happy ending. Was it disappointing or like okay?
It was okay. It was okay. I was a little disappointed because one of the characters that they brought back that you had thought was gone for forever was such a fun, cool guy, and then they made him a bad guy. So I was disappointed about that. But they brought back some bad guys and made them good guys. So I don't know. It's all kinds of crazy. They knew that they were ending. Actually, I think they might have thought they were ending last time. So they were like, you know what? This is our last one. Let's just do whatever the crap we want. So, that's fun.
I hate to rush through this one, but hey, sorry to bother you. Jesse had recommended this movie. Melanie and I watched a movie. Did we just come? I think it was on Hulu, maybe. So
yeah.
Yay, commercials. But did it have commercials?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. But yeah, sorry to bother you. It was a movie from 2018. And Jesse, you'd recommended it to us a year or two ago. I don't know, quite a while ago. And I don't know. I come across it and was like, oh yeah, hey, that movie. What is this movie? And Melanie and I watched the trailer and we're like, oh, okay, let's watch that. That
Yeah.
looks weird.
And it
It's
is.
It's very weird. It's kind of great.
You won't forget it once you watch it. It was like,
Right.
whoa, yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that the overview is this, the overview seems somewhat misleading, but not in the way you'd expect. It's actually, the movie's actually just much weirder than this. But the overview, according to themoviedb.org, says in an alternate present day version of Oakland, which is not wrong. It's definitely not the world we live in.
Right.
It's different. It's heightened.
Right.
But, you know, a mirror of our world, basically. Black telemarketer Cassius Green discovers a magical key to professional success, which projects him, or which propels him into a macabre universe. That's weirdly written. They're right, but when I read it initially, I took it much more literally. And I was like, so what is he going to like? I was like, wait. Reading that and seeing the trailer, I was like, so he goes from like our world to like this kind of weird world. And it's like, no, it's just a weird world.
Yeah.
There's no going into another universe. It's the idea. It's not literal, that description. But it's very there's a lot of social commentary. It's not subtle about it.
No.
But it's
Like it really hits you over the head with it.
it's
Like, oh yeah, literally this.
yeah, it's blunt about it, but it's not bad. It's not like ham-fisted. It's just, it's what it is. It's I don't know. But at the same time, I don't know if I could say it's preachy. It's excellent though. I don't know.
It's one of
excellent.
those movies. It's like, is it a good movie? Is it a bad movie? I don't know, but I like it.
Yeah,
I think there's a part of the movie where one of the characters is a performance artist, and she gets up on stage
Yes.
and has she's practically naked, but not quite, and has people like throw phones and weird stuff at her and blood. That's what this movie is like. You're like, that's really strange. I don't know why you chose to make art that way, but it is kind of interesting to look at and intriguing.
Yeah. Okay, yes. The movie is like that, but a good example. It's not.
It throws cell phones at us.
Pretentious. It's not pretentious though. It's doing that thing, but also poking fun at that thing.
Yeah,
it's
Right.
a comedy. It's definitely a comedy.
It kind of reminds me of John Waters movies, but not really. You know?
Yeah, that's decent. John Waters movies, but with like
A little
very
bit of Rick
different-
and Morty style, like this is the way the world is. And if you believe anything else, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot to do with. It's as much, if not more, feels more relevant now than it did in 2018. Not that much has changed between then and now.
Right.
Very little has, but a whole lot of stuff about race. A whole lot of stuff about working about
Class.
labor, the labor
class.
force, class, corporations, sales, morality when it comes to big business and sales. It's got a lot in there, and it's not subtle about it, but it's
Money corrupting.
Yeah. The way people can change without realizing it, or just like, no, I'm the same, but I gotta
Right.
do this horrible thing for money. So,
Right.
and it gets farcical. It gets farcical. It's so literal with its messaging that it becomes farcical to where, I don't know, man. It's like
Like you want to spoil it, but you can't because
I
it's
don't
so,
want to, yeah.
it's so out of left field where where it winds up going eventually.
I highly recommend it. I think if it sounds super weird to you, just know that it is super weird. But I don't feel like it's. It might turn some people off, but I don't feel like it's the kind of. It's not a David Lynch movie. It's not. It's
No.
something like that. It's not the kind of weird that I think is going to turn people off. If you're like, well, I seen a David Lynch movie once and never again. It's not that kind of weird. It's just weird because the world they live in is such an exaggerated version of ours.
Right.
And it's a little cartoony at times.
Yeah.
But without losing the edge of the message. I wasn't wild about the ending though.
Right. Or like I was a telemarketer as a high school student, like that was my high school job. And it plays on a little bit, like they take it a little further, but like when you're a telemarketer and you affect your telemarketing voice, like you affect a different kind of voice so that you enunciate a little more clearly, you bring your energy up. It's kind of like podcasting a bit, but even more so when you're selling something, right? And so they take that and then they dial that up a little bit further yet.
The white voice is in the trailer.
Voice.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
The white
that's
voice
true.
in
It is
the trailer.
Yeah.
I won't get into it. If you are curious about this, don't watch the trailer. Just watch the movie. But the white voice is amazing. It made me laugh so hard. But yeah. Anyway, it's great.
Go watch it, especially if you like half the stuff that we've reviewed in the past.
Yeah. I
feel
highly
like
recommend it.
it's flown under the radar.
Yeah.
too.
I hadn't heard of it at all.
Yeah.
And that was why I kept like recommending it, because it's like I hadn't even heard of it. So,
Maybe we
gotta
should
signal boost this thing.
we should maybe mention that some of the actors in the movie at the time maybe weren't as well known, but by now several of them are on very popular series, and maybe in a couple movies too. So check that out.
Yeah, it's got. Wait, Terry Crews was in that? I didn't
Yeah, you don't remember Terry? He's the uncle.
Oh yeah, yeah. he is.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
So the main character is played by Lakeith Stanfield, but he is. I still haven't gotten out of the first season of Atlanta, but he plays like the skinny weird dude, like of the like kind of the crew of three. He's like the skinny weird dude who's a little out there. He's less out there and wise in this movie, but this character has the same mannerisms. I loved his character in Atlanta, and he's the lead in this. He's pretty good. It's got the Valkyrie from Thor.
Yeah.
She's in it.
Who was also one of the
Tessa Blanchard, is that right? Or no, I'm mixing two different names, aren't I?
Oh
Kate
no, I
Blanchett
don't think
and
you're
Tessa something.
It's Tessa. Yeah, it's Tessa Thompson.
Thompson.
I
There
guess.
we go.
It's got Danny Glover,
Yeah.
Stephen Yoon. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Danny Glover. I haven't seen him in anything in ages. But he's pretty good in this. There's of course, because if they need a white voice, Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
His voice is in there. Also David Cross. I did not realize that was David Cross. I couldn't place
It makes perfect sense now that you know, but yeah.
yeah.
Right. You need like the whitest white guys.
Yeah.
David Cross
Yep.
and Patton Oswalt are the way to go.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, good recommendation, Jesse, and
Yeah, thank
I
you.
would forward that. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Fun for no, maybe not the whole family, but fun.
it's a rated R, so
Yeah.
keep that in mind, I guess. Jesse, what is this other thing? I did not get to watch the trailer that you.
Oh,
shared
you
yet,
should
but-
check out the trailer. It's okay. It's called In and of Itself. It's on Hulu, and it's Derek Delgadio, and he is like it's really difficult to explain, but it's like a stage show.
Oh, right.
It's like a magician. He's a magician, so he does like sleight of hand kind of stuff, and but it's it's dramatic. Like he tells little anecdotal like life stories or stories, and then also there's like a visual element to it, and then he'll do like a sleight of hand trick, and like it's just this really cool interactive thing. And so like I don't have much to say about the details of it other than it was very compelling. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again because it makes you think. It makes you wonder how he does the tricks, like it's just kind of a cool deal. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's really hard to describe. It's dramatic. There were parts where like it's set up into different chambers. Like there's almost 6 parts to the show, and each part has its own like kind of vibe or emotion to it. And so some of them are like uplifting and inspirational and motivational, and then there's other ones that are like downright menacing and creepy. There's other ones that are like sad and yeah. So I don't know. As far as like going to you think of like a card trick magician, like this was far more compelling than that. So I would say check out the trailer, and if it's for you, it's on Hulu.
Yeah, we've seen that. Now that you mention it, and clicking over and looking at the trailer a little bit while you were talking, yeah, I've seen a commercial for it about 1 million times on Hulu because that's how they do.
Right.
They like to CW us. What was the thing from the CW commercial? Dare to defy. Okay,
Dare to defy. Yeah.
It's that whole streaming service, the commercial streaming service, where they have like 2 commercials that they'll show you endlessly.
Sometimes back to back. I freaking hate that.
And that's one of them. And yeah, I didn't know what to make of it. I was like, oh.
It's a long story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's probably nothing like it, but it makes me think of, and I was telling Randy about this yesterday, and it's a TikTok thing my sister watches, or my niece, I mean, where it's a makeup tutorial, but you can't just have a makeup tutorial anymore because there's a million of them. So she does her makeup while she tells true crime stories. And that's her like niche or whatever. Right. It seems kind of like that. Like I can't just be a magician. I got to be a magician that does a drama while I'm doing my magic, to kind of a little extra something to snag them.
It's clever because like you're following him with your eyes kind of thing, and you're listening to his story. So you're obviously not paying attention to whatever is happening where the trick's going to be, like it's very clever.
Hey, Jesse, is it a long story?
It's a long story.
Oh man. Okay. Well, we're caught up.
All right.
To the robots. Love, Death, and Robots season 2. Just came out this last weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Sometime. You had mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's out, huh?
Right.
And then Melanie and I sat down and watched the entire second season that night.
Yeah, because you didn't think, like I thought there would be 18 episodes. So I was like, oh yeah, well, I'll just get started on it. I'll do half of it now and half of it later.
Yeah, it went super quick.
Matty D, he says he's got Gob from Arrested Development.
That'll happen.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so season 2 was only 8 episodes versus the 18 from season 1. Like season 1, the episodes are varying length, but none of them are particularly long. Well, some of them are like close to 20 minutes, and then you've got some that are like 7 minutes. So,
and I wanted to say that I would be disappointed by that 7-minute one, but I was like, I kind of love that. Kind of like in season 1, this anthology does a really good job of like planting the seed of a story that I just wish they would have made a whole movie of.
Yeah.
There are so many, there were a lot of these that I was like, I want more of this. There were a couple that, and I haven't looked into too much of like people's thoughts on these, but there were a couple that I liked enough that I was like, oh, I want to research this one and look into it. And like, I'd read people are like, well, it wasn't, nothing really happened. It's like, Yeah, but it was a masterclass in world building. Some of these,
Yes.
Uh-huh.
like some of the longer ones, especially, yeah, the plots are pretty simple, but it creates such a like thick, dense world
Hmm.
of potential like stories. Like there's it feels like a world with history. That yeah,
Hmm.
I wish I was like, I want the movie now. I want all of
Right.
that. Give me more
Yeah.
of that story.
I think like season one gave us more variety, but to be honest, some of that variety was forgettable. Like
Yeah.
I can tell you a handful of plots from the first season,
Hmm.
but this one, like, they're all pretty solid.
Hmm.
If anything, it's like we got less quantity, but we got more quality.
Another thing too is, I mean, the stories do stand out, but from the first one, I think a lot of the thing that grabbed me was the different styles. And in this
Mhm.
one, the thing that's so crazy is there's two or three of them that look like a freaking movie. Like
Yeah.
the I actually thought it was a movie. Like the person at least was filmed, but it's not. All of it is like CGI or animated.
Snow in the desert blew my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
blew my mind.
Yeah. I want a whole movie about that. I mean, like,
Hmm.
I want more of that world.
I researched the studio that did it. That was created by I forget it, Image Unit
Uh-huh.
Studios
Hmm.
or something like that. It's a French company, and they do a lot of the CGI trailers for video games and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's shots in there that it looks real. Like the people,
Hmm.
that's the main thing, and also there's one with Michael B. Jordan, and
Yeah,
they're like the
that looked like him a lot of the time. Where I was
Uh-huh.
just like, there were moments where I forgot that that was not.
the
There's times where
close-ups.
it's like, okay,
Yeah,
like the background. It's like there's in that one, it was like, oh yeah, so the background looks like he's in a video game, but the figure looks like Michael B. Jordan.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah. I think they nailed the close-ups with him. Looked amazing and could have been filmed. Uh, Snow in the desert, though, I think in terms of in that aspect, I think takes it because there I was like questioning it because the movement they nailed the
Yeah,
movement and
Hmm.
they looked like they were it did not look CG. I mean
Hmm.
the world looks CG of course because it's like a fantastical planet kind of thing,
Hmm.
but it was mind blowing. I remember the first season almost having my mind blown, and then being like, "Oh wait, no, those are actually actors filmed there. That's not
Hmm.
oh
animated." This one, I had that feeling, but they were animated, and I was like, "Oh, wait, what?"
right.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so okay. Anyway,
They're nailing
I
it
lo-
now.
they
what?
kind of led with the most cartoony of them,
Yes.
and then like they kind of abandoned that pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Did they have these in a set order this time? Because I remember last season they
I
would play
think so.
randomly.
I don't know. Hard
Um,
to say because the list that I have in front of me is pretty much how I saw them. So
okay, yeah, yeah. I think this is the way that it played out for us too.
And this season also had a lot more love and death than robots, which is
Yeah.
fine. But
right.
I was not expecting it. You know, like
You
there
wanted
was
more
one
robots.
I know there was one that I don't think had a robot in it at all, and I was like, "Where's the robots? I like robots."
One was Blade Runner, except no robots. It was children
Uh
instead.
huh. Yeah.
Dude, they,
Oh my god, that one.
I
Ooh,
love that
is
one,
that
but
Pop
whoa.
Squad? Oh, oh, they hit you hard with
Pop,
the feels.
Hmm.
that is the title of that one, huh? I
Yeah,
guess it makes
that's what
sense
it's
as
called.
population, but Pop Squad, yeah, that title does not
Uh huh.
prepare you for what that story is.
No.
Right.
Blade Runner, but instead of hunting down robots, it's children. You hunt down children.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I liked this season. I
Me
think a
too.
lot more than the
Yeah.
first season. I agree with you, Jesse. It was more quality over quantity.
Hmm.
And like, okay, so I alluded to it. The 7-minute one is a Christmas story. I flippin' loved that.
Yeah.
So
It
good.
it was great. It actually reminded me of another skit from a holiday anthology.
Yeah, I think it might have just been called Holidays or whatever. It's that one with Frodo in it.
hmm
It's on
But yeah,
Netflix, or it was on Netflix.
I love when they do weird, interesting stuff with holiday themes. You know.
It's like what if a Guillermo del Toro monster was Santa Claus?
It's such a
Yeah.
twist too. I'm such a sucker for the animation in all these because one thing I really liked that stuck out is in that one, it's CGI, but they're
Yeah.
kind of made to look like like almost Rankin Bass stop motion a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The hair texture looks like that fake hair they'd use on the like stop motion dolls, and even the little girl's nightgown or whatever it is. If you look like when she like moves, crouches down, it doesn't hang and flow like fabric would. It like bunches up as if it were like a thick doll dress. So just little
Oh, yeah.
things like that. Just like even though it's all CG, they went to crazy like detail to make it look like a stop motion Christmas special.
But then
I
they
love
took
that.
like they had an actual stop motion Christmas special on the television just to like take you one step removed from that. So
Right.
you know what it's supposed to be, but at the same time it's like not quite there, but
hmm
Frodo, do you mean Daniel Radcliffe? Wait, what?
Elijah Wood?
Elijah Wood, that's what I'm talking about.
Elijah Wood is way weirder than Daniel Radcliffe. So.
You know what? Daniel Radcliffe and Elijah Wood, though, like,
Mhm.
I feel like that's a fair mix-up because,
They do both kind of take on really bizarre and unsettling projects
yeah, if you
Yeah.
to
see them in
distance
something
themselves, you know?
now, it's always weird.
Yeah.
Hmm? Yeah, but isn't Elijah Wood like way older than Daniel Radcliffe? Because he's at least our
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with Elijah Wood.
Me too. He's freaking weird, and I like it.
Elijah, get at us.
He's been weird since he was like 4. I swear.
He was in Back to the Future too.
He's been
Was
acting.
he?
He's been acting since he was a
What, you
toddler.
play it with your hands? That's like a baby's toy. In the was it the 80s cafe?
I think the youngest he was in a movie was like 2.5 or 3 or something like that.
Wow.
So that's how he's been acting his entire life. And even that movie was weird.
I think part of what makes him interesting, and maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe he is weird, but for somebody who's been acting in movies his whole life, he still seems down to earth, and he seems just like the type of weirdo we'd meet. You know, he seems like the type of weird dude you'd come across, be like, yeah, let's hang out. And I don't know, he seems
He is. He's like
relatable.
He seems. In fact, I know he is because I've seen footage of him like riding his scooter down the street to the thrift store or something like that. He does stuff like that, you know?
With a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good. All right. Here's $50. Go get a Pepsi. I mean, you know, not to say he has like the same necessarily the same perception of the world as we do, but back on track here.
Sorry.
Elijah Wood would have made this better though.
Yeah, I would have.
Somehow.
You know what Elijah Wood would have been good in?
Hmm.
He would have been good in the Tall Grass, which was an episode.
Tallgrass. That should have been Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Tallgrass
He
was
kind of
one
looked like the character almost looked like a Lovecraftian kind of gaunt face character, you know.
Tallgrass is that's an interesting one, and I'm a little conflicted about it because tonally it seemed weird because it's like it's definitely doing a horror thing, but then at the end it's got like and maybe that's what they're going, you know, a Lovecraftian weird, almost cosmic horror thing,
Right.
but it felt like the music come in and it's like wonder and not whimsy, but like like emotional wonder music.
Circle of Life, maybe.
And, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
No, those are glowing zombies. What is this music?
There's a door to another dimension out there in the field.
Mhm.
Don't go out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting though. That was another one where the animation, like I couldn't help but pay attention because they would do the intentionally like low frame rate animation on the character to make him look kind of stop motion, but everything had like a painterly or almost wood carved texture. But they wouldn't, like, the camera motion was still smooth and they weren't consistent with his frame rate. Sometimes he'd move and it was smooth and normal, and then sometimes it was super like low frame rate. I don't know. People probably are like, what are you talking about, Randy? You know. If you don't know, too bad.
Yeah. If you don't know, Randy will sit and fix the TV for 10 minutes before we get to watch anything to make sure it's on the right
it's
size.
not
Not anymore,
not a-
really, but used to do it all the time.
It's an animation thing. It's interesting. It's like when they talk about the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, everybody's fascinated by it when they talk about it in that context. Where they talk about animating one character on one and one on the twos, where they do like one frame of animation for every 2 actual frames, so it's not quite as smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that hardcore in the tall grass, or the tall grass, where sometimes it's clearly kind of jerky animation, even though it's all CG. And sometimes it's just smooth and normal. So, whatever.
I get you.
Whatever. I'm fighting with somebody. I don't know who. Automated customer service. The first one was good, entertaining. It's the most cartoony. It's a weird way to open it because tonally, it in itself was a weird tone juxtaposition because it had like a almost Pixar look, super exaggerated characters, which were very ugly to look at, but it was still very cartoony. Yet clearly dangerous stakes.
Yeah.
Also, Patton Oswalt's voice because he's in everything.
Uh-huh.
Right.
But it's such a weird way to start it because
I think they gave us the robots. Like, boom. Like, here's your robot. You're like, boom. We're going to hit you with that. We're going to make it really obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Get the
Potential
camp
love.
out of the way right away.
Yep.
Yep.
Matt. But is it available in PAL at 27 frames per minute? I want to watch it in 4:3 at 4:3 aspect ratio. Stop it.
Ugh.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep. It does remind me though that they came out with the new slowest camera, or not slowest recording camera in the world right now. Just a couple months ago, right?
Well,
Is it
it's not-
basically a camera? like
No,
like
it is. It's
still
a
frame camera that just does.
no. It takes how many? Like I think they said it'd take like a million, or not a million, like a billion frames.
No, it's not necessarily the fastest slow motion camera in the world, but it's the fastest like phantom slow motion camera that you can. Well, I don't know if you can buy it, but that you can get.
Yeah, they don't list a price, so
If you knock the resolution down, go watch Slow Mo Guys on YouTube. It's a great channel. But
it is.
if you knock the resolution down, it can take like 1.5 million frames per second, which is something like if you record like, I don't know,
Plants
a
growing?
second. Well, plants grow. No, it's super. Well, I mean, you could and then watch plants grow even slower. But it's,
Yeah, I was gonna say you died before
Okay,
you got
maybe I
done.
got that. Okay.
if you record like a second of footage, it would take over like
Keeper
almost 2
doesn't
days to
understand slow mo.
Yeah,
Thinking hyperlapse.
What are we talking about?
yeah. Sorry,
No, it's okay. It's interesting.
it is interesting.
Ice.
I think if there was one that I was least interested in, it was this one. But even this one was pretty cool. It just like the world was more cool than what they were doing. To me, I don't know.
Right. This one had a lot of interest, kind of interesting world building, but almost like not enough to where I was
Right.
unsure of like I didn't really know what they were doing.
Well, like first of all, they're on a different planet. Like it's not it's not Earth that I'm aware of, right? It's like this alien planet, but it's also they're in this uninhabitable or slightly uninhabitable area that's like a biodome in the middle of an Antarctica type of area. And then all the people are genetically modified.
I
Right.
kind of felt like it was like a cooler, more modern Gattaca a little bit.
Oh, sure. Like
Yeah.
like Gattaca with Urban Decay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
It was very stylized. I'm not wild about this. This and the first one I feel like are the most like stylized in a like animation cartoony way because after this most of these are very maybe the tall grass isn't the exception, but are very more grounded CGI, more realistic. I mean, even
Right.
the Christmas one is like it's cartoony, but it looks like Christmas stop motion Rankin Bass characters, so it's not like
Right.
really out there. Automated customer service and ICE, the character designs are crazy, and I
Yeah.
wasn't wild about it in this one, but it did have a pretty interesting look.
Right.
hmm
And yeah, the story was okay. Also, like the brother put both their lives at risk to motivate the older brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
It was. Um, I do like. I like the realism in some of them, but I do kind of miss a little bit from last season. Some of the super weird stuff, like in particular, I'm thinking of one where there was an assassin or something and saw themselves across like in another apartment across the way, and that one it was like so weird. It was like drawn over film or something, and it would jump around in weird ways, stuff like that. That was really cool. I kind of like it when they do weird experimental type stuff like that.
Yeah, overall, I think there were a lot in these that felt like could also have been tech demos for the studios
hmm
and less straight up experimentation, like you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I like CGI in some cases, but you know, if you're gonna make a movie that looks like real people, you could just use real people too. You know.
That's true. That's true.
Well, Pop Squad, the one you mentioned, I loved the world and the art and the look of Pop. It's
Oh, yeah.
very Blade Runner, like very
Yeah.
Blade Runner, except it almost embraced the Art Deco or 30s, 40s noir look more than Blade Runner actually
Right.
did.
Yeah.
A little less neon.
It
looked
almost like
amazing.
two different worlds. Like there's the world that he's forced to do in his day job, and then there's the world that is like what he goes home to. And it was like, wow, so totally different. Because I actually had to think about it for a second. I was like, what was the one where they can like basically rejuvenate with the IV drip? And I was like, oh, that's the same one. That's why they're doing the population control.
Right.
Because you can only have so many people that can live forever.
hmm
That's in like the city above the cloud line.
Right.
Yeah, above a horrible, rundown ghetto Blade Runner world.
Right.
You know, and below it's just dark and cloudy and rainy.
But that's what happens when you have kids. You have to live there in the dark, rainy crap.
In the
That one,
ruins.
that one looked more like the characters. It was good, but that one looked like a CG animated thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There can be only one immortal. No, there can only be immortals in this one.
Yeah.
Well, there can be more than one, but there can only be like, like 1,000 maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably more, but I don't know. Yeah.
I really liked, even though it was kind of derivative. I liked the world of that one. That was one. That was like the first one that I was like, I want to watch that movie. I want to see more of that, even though it is essentially just Blade Runner. Kind of down to the suspicious partner, you know?
Right.
Did it cross anybody else's mind that this is kind of like the vampires, like you don't turn a baby vampire because then they'd be a baby forever kind of a thing? So they're like, yeah, don't bring kids in here. They'll be children all their lives, and nobody wants to take care of a like 80-year-old toddler.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know if you get that stuff, like they're shooting it up, filling them, in their veins and stuff, so it's circulating through their system. I would imagine it would have to get into their kids. So I don't know how any of that works, but
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's another one where there's interesting world building. That was a lot of world building where it tells you enough to like really understand the world, like the rules, more so than something like ice, but
uh-huh.
it's also like still very open, like, well, how does this work? And
then
like,
why do the squad guys come in with like almost like clone trooper armor,
right.
To be scary.
And probably to protect their identities because they're
Oh,
going
Yeah,
in and
yeah.
doing horrible things.
Maddie D says toddlers and 80-year-olds both need diapers. It all depends.
Well done.
Snow in the Desert is the crazy photorealistic one where that blew my mind. And the story is okay. The story's not amazing, but it's interesting. You got like a mutant thing going on, like a mutant guy. You got like bounty hunters on a desert planet. Felt a little felt a little familiar. You got androids, so there was love, death, and robots in that one. Insane, over the top gore when people got shot. Like that one
Yeah.
was crazy.
It's like Star Wars Deadpool, excuse me.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
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 And that is definitely one, other the fact that they like forced in the like kind of love story sex scene thing real fast. I think, Melody, you even questioned it. I was like, listen, they got like 15 minutes to get through the story.
Oh, right.
They ain't wasting time.
Yeah.
If you could do photo real CGI that tricks your mind into thinking they're real people, you're doing a sex scene. It doesn't matter what.
And the rationale is they've been alone their entire lives, and now they're alone together.
Yes. Yeah, that one was pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The story was okay, but that was another one where, like, that one actually had more, like, okay, so there's androids, there's still like a government or commission or something on Earth, but this is not Earth, and they send agents over, but there's also this other guy trying to get the guy's family jewels so he could figure out like anyway, there's a whole bunch of like crazy stuff going on that I would like to see more of. I'd like to see that expanded for sure.
Right.
There's tall grass all through the house. Oh, Life Hutch was the Michael B. Jordan one.
Right.
This one was interesting because just the idea of this was a like trapped in a room with a wild animal story, except on an alien planet, and the wild animal is a robot.
Yeah.
And it is really interesting to do that like rabid feral animal, but it's a robot thing. Very strange.
Yeah, and why do you need a robot like that? Like, I understand it's gonna they malfunction sometimes. Why is it gonna malfunction into a giant like tiger beast tearing everything apart? Why?
Right.
What function does a like service robot have to do that?
That's really malfunctioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never crash your spaceship, or your robot might turn into a tiger.
He even does the laser pointer thing a little bit with the flashlight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
too. I was like, oh my God, he's using it as a laser pointer to distract it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it though. It's a pretty simple story. I thought it was pretty decent. That weirdness about the robot aside. I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting, and also the design of the robot. It's like when it would focus on something, like search, scan, or look for something. It has the one light in its face, and it reminded me of what's his projector head or whatever his name was from.
From Bendy and the
Bendy,
Ink Machine.
with the
Yeah, the projectionist.
flashing,
Yeah,
which is super creepy.
yeah.
The little bit of gore in that was pretty hardcore when he gets his hand stomped
Yeah.
on. And
Oh, yeah, that's
they
nice.
made a point to like show his fingers
Hell,
dangling.
oh my God! But then he uses that hand later, and I was like, dude, you're not holding anything with
Right.
that hand. You're not holding anything. You got like 3 fingers tops that still work.
Right.
Yep.
Use the other hand.
And a robot, which I mean, I know it's malfunctioning, but it's got like robot eyes. It apparently is a Tyrannosaurus and can only see movement because it'll stare right at people and just not see them. It's weird.
But I thought it was cool. That one, the CGI, like I said, that was the one where the close-ups, especially when they made him super sweaty, looked very realistic to me. Further away, looked a little bit more video gamey, more CG. The movement wasn't quite as quite as good like motion capture as Snow in the Desert, but it looked pretty good.
For me on that one, it was more the environment. Like if they showed the wall or a corner, that's where I was like, oh yeah, that looks like a video game.
Right. And it had a little bit more of like, that one is also partially, I think, because it had the environment is much more what you would see in a video game.
Right.
It's a space,
there's that.
It's space. It's a little like sci-fi space. Well, it's a life hutch or whatever, but it's a little like space building thing on a planet. Yeah, it definitely had more of that look. And then there's the giant one.
Well, that's how they end it too. Like,
that's such a weird one to end it on.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to make of it. The down giant is weird and kind of upsetting a little bit and gross.
It's like a weird, like poetic. I don't know. It's very strange. It's like something that not Edgar Allan Poe, because he's weirder, but yeah, it's very strange, and it doesn't seem like it should fit in with the rest of them, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's different. So basically, if you haven't seen it yet, it's the whole thing's got a narrator and a British voice, and he reads it as he's like a writer or something, and so it's written very poetically about this giant, a man, just this like big huge body of a man washed up on shore, and it's just people go check it out and then climb around on it, and like it decays, and then eventually like, okay, well, we gotta chop it up. And
when they like even do the whole like spray painting graffiti on the side of this guy's body, and then somebody else is like, we're chop that arm off, and then you find out later why they did that, like what they got out of it.
It's real weird. It's a weird one and pretty gross.
And they never say where the freaking giant came from.
No.
They don't seem concerned about it at all, even really.
Yeah, they did bookend this thing, maybe with the exception of All Through the House, which didn't feel out of place, but is quite a bit different than the other ones, just because it's a kind of a comedy Christmas one. It's a horror, but also comedy Christmas thing. But this and Automated Customer Service, they definitely did bookend them with the most tonally different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Some of these were downers.
Oh, man, yeah. A lot of them really were. I mean...
Or the Drowned Giant is what it was called. That's what that last one was. Okay.
I don't know. I think they were all kind of downers. Well, yeah. Even the Snow in the Desert one, I mean, sure, it was nice. They had a romance, sort of a romance. I don't know if they just met each other. It doesn't really count. But even that, it's because of a depressing reason that they hook up, you know?
Right. Yeah, really. I don't know. Maybe the Christmas one is the closest thing to a happy ending, but at the same time, like they're laying in bed, just like, what did we just witness? What does this mean about the world we think we know?
Well, luckily they're kids, and when they grow up, they can be like, I had the weirdest dream.
Right.
As soon as the tentacle comes out.
Yep.
It was like,
wow! Oh, here we go.
That one's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, okay. So if these episodes are all super short. Just binge through the whole season. But if you just want to like if you want my recommendations and you just want to watch a couple, definitely All Through the House,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Snow in the Desert. Those are, I think, my two favorite.
Gotta have Pop Squad too.
Yeah, I was
Pop
gonna
Squad.
Pop Squad's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess Life Hutch, because
Yeah.
like Michael B. Jordan.
It's all right,
Right.
but yeah.
For me, it would be between. I mean, yeah, the rest of these are kind of all in the same group, but it's between Life Hutch and the Tall Grass. But I kind of dig that, like, that weird, unsettling, like the universe is not what we think it is.
Right.
H.P. Lovecraft-ness of it,
Right.
Yep.
where it's like one part siren song, will-o-wisp, or the whole time you're like, what are we seeing? And then you see what it is, and you're like, oh my god, what are you doing out there?
Now, if you don't want a downer, avoid maybe Pop Squad. If you just want like some fun,
Yeah.
automated customer service gets real wacky,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and All Through the House is great and funny. Those are probably the like
Yeah.
funny ones.
Right.
Mhm.
So, I wonder if this has been renewed yet.
Well, that's the one thing I was worried about with it only having 8 episodes. It's like, was this basically what they had done and then they canceled it? Is that why it's so short comparatively? Or
Right.
what was the deal with that? And I didn't get very far in, like, I didn't think to look it up, but I hope they continue with this. Just like I said last time we talked about it, it's like, we need more quality anthology shows like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just
Because
going
this
by
is how we
headlines.
get movies that are essentially like
Right.
born of this kind of stuff, is that, they give us a nugget and we're like, we want more of that. And someone hears that and they're like, okay, we're going to make a movie about that or
Yeah,
something
if the
like
pro-
it.
If the producers or if Netflix was smart about this series, yeah, I worry they're not looking at it the right way. If they're just looking at it as a series and just going by headlines, like the general consensus is like some people are like season 2 fixes all the worst things of season 1, and I kind of agree. But then people are like it's better, but not by much, and it's like, well, that seems weirdly negative. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get. Maybe that's just what.
And some
happens
people have
with
said that it's
anthologies.
disappointing because it's so many less episodes, I think.
Sure, but yeah, I don't know. It's the quantity,
Like
quality over
the
quantity, like you said.
Rotten Tomato score is like 100% fresh from critic reviews, but then like the audience is like 46%.
Really?
I think
Weird.
it's just people's expectations versus what they actually got. I think it was the diminished number of episodes.
So you can't trust Netflix anymore since the Glow incident.
Right. Right.
But according to IGN a month ago, before season 2 had even dropped, it had been renewed for a 3rd season.
Okay, good.
So hopefully,
I'll
if they were
I'll take 8 episodes. I'll take 18, whatever. I just want more.
if they were smart, they could almost use keep doing the show, do the series. They could almost use it as a springboard for for larger projects. Netflix knows which episodes probably get watched the most.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
and then we already know that they listen probably more than they should to like social media mentions and stuff. Yeah, and then at least, if not springboard certain shorts off into like a feature or its own thing,
Mm-hmm.
or like an extended special, at least then be like, hey, studio, writers, whoever that made this episode, people love that. Can you, what do you got?
Yeah.
That'd be super
Give us
smart.
more ideas at the very least.
Right.
And really, one thing that they could do, and I think a lot of anthologies do, is go to new people who are just starting in the business, and be like, hey, if you can make something really cool, you can get it in our anthology. They wouldn't have to pay them nearly as much. And well, I mean, not that's a good thing. I want them to be paid what they're worth, but you're going to pay somebody that's new and trying less than some giant studio that makes a lot already. You know what I mean? and it would help the new people and get them some fresh ideas.
And there's clearly some interest in this because, I mean, like Michael B. Jordan doesn't have to do like animated shorts.
Right.
You know, Patton Oswalt doesn't have to voice over these quick little 15-minute episodes, but they're interested and they're involved, and it's cool.
I think what's his name? Patton. That guy. I think he's kind of like Samuel L. Jackson, and he'll just do whatever.
He just wants to work.
Yeah.
It just works.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're not doing news.
No.
But I have a related news story.
Okay.
From a couple days ago. This is according to CBR, the comic book
resource.
CBR.com now, but comic book resources. Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to guest star in Love, Death, and Robots.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tim Miller and Jennifer Hugh reveal that Arnold Schwarzenegger, I have such a time with his name, almost reprised his role as Conan the Barbarian for Love, Death, and Robots.
What? That would be incredible.
Now, that is the first mind blower. Here's the second mind blower, that the writer refers to Arnold as Last Action Hero actor Arnold. Last Action Hero is your
That's a weird
go-to?
flex. Yeah. Like, really? That's the credit you're going to go with?
That's your go-to reference for Arnold?
How old is this guy? Is he like 20 something?
He's like, well, what's the last big movie he was in? That wasn't even a big movie. That movie flopped.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. Anyway, so apparently on a stream for Reddit Live,
True Lies star Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That one would actually even. I mean, it's a weird poll, but that one's almost more relevant because that was, I think, did very well and was very popular for a short time.
Between the two, it did way better.
But Terminator, all of them,
Yeah.
Predator, any number of his like iconic classic movies.
Even the crappy ones, like the Kindergarten Cop, that's got some of the best lines of his ever.
It's a household name movie,
Yeah.
So
everybody
knows. Jingle All the Ways, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, no, that I can do without that one.
Governator.
Yeah.
Anything. Tank Collector. Maid Aficionado.
Right, yeah.
So apparently on a stream for Reddit Live, Miller and Hugh it's probably Yo. Sorry. I don't know names. Fielded questions about the show's development in addition to explaining how the series changed and evolved after the release of the first season. In particular, they mentioned that Arnold had repeatedly contacted them, insisting upon making an appearance. Quote, in the Hollywood community, people really like the show. Arnold lobbied me almost every day to get in.
Wow.
He's not in it. That's not another sneak peek. End quote. That's what Miller said. But why? We considered it. We were like, how could we fit that in?
Mm-hmm.
It's Arnold.
Yeah, you kind of like, I don't know.
Just have him say like one line and that's it.
Yeah. He'd be the voice of a robot, and the robot only says like 2 words.
Yeah.
How do you turn down the Terminator?
Yeah. Make him
For
go.
your Love, Death,
Just
and
Vin
Robots
Diesel
show.
him. He's Groot. Just have him say the same phrase over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah. The showrunners also revealed that they outlined an episode featuring Conan the Barbarian with Arnold presumably returning to the role. Well, yeah, of course. Why would? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Intended to be an
Conan.
adaptation of Robert E. Howard's novella Red Nails. The episode was eventually scrapped due to copyright issues. It's so weird. Oh, I mean, that would have been kind of awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, sign me up for that.
But Maddie D said Batman and Arnold's or Batman and Robin's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
There you go, yeah.
It would have been a Conan short. I did want to do a Conan short, but we couldn't get permission. It would have been based on Red Nails. It involved Valeria, the Pirate Queen, a lost city. It was effed up. There were dinosaurs in it too. We just couldn't get permission.
Keep trying,
but-
please.
No, you know what you do? You just slightly change them, change their names and their outfits, and then
It's Ronan, the Cartharian.
Yeah, yes.
Yep.
You can't use the word barbarian.
You just change that. Like, it's like a barbarian, but on this planet.
Mhm.
Use a different word.
Well, you don't have like a robot anything then that you could just be like, yeah, okay.
Right. You swap out one of the snakes. There's always a snake in Robert E. Howard's stuff.
Arnold is big and strong, and he's gonna live forever. But he is also kind of old.
Yeah.
You don't ignore a chance to put Arnold in
Right.
anything.
Yeah, that might have been your only chance, your last chance. You never know.
You never know.
Well, not only that, if you got the motion capture of his face, and the recording of his voice, you can freaking, do the Marlon Brando thing with him for the rest of his life, or not
Right.
Marlon Brando, James Dean. I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
Marlon
CGI
Brando
him.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arguably, Marlon Brando is one of the first ones they did that with.
Right.
Did that kind of thing with.
Yeah.
With was it Superman 2? Maybe?
Superman 2, the Donner cut. Yeah, they remade
Yeah.
his face and brought him back to life ish.
Okay. Conaninator, the Siberian. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been amazing. You combine Terminator and Conan.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get listen. You will never get another chance to write fan fiction like that and have actual Arnold in it. Come on.
Right. It's kind of like if John Hurt wanted to do anything. You're like, yes, please. Yes,
Right.
sir. Literal knight, Sir John Hurt.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me a little bit of another thing that we watched. I think it was just a YouTube thing, but it was Willem Dafoe talking about his old movies, and the way that he explains it all, it's so hilarious, and it's exactly the way that you would think Willem Dafoe is, where he's like, I just, you go and you do it, and then you experience the art, and it's full of passion and wonderful. It's great.
Well, yeah, we fell into it was a small rabbit hole of William Dafoe in interviews and videos, because Willem Dafoe he's a Jeff Goldblum. He's
he's
one
a
of those
walk-in.
guys.
He's a treasure. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just seems he's so weird, but so laid back and chill and cool. And you're like, I just want to listen to him talk about things.
Right.
He seems fun.
Well, you see like behind the scenes stuff of him in Spider-Man wearing that god awful Green Goblin costume, and then you take the mask off of him and he's just having a blast.
Yeah, yeah. He just seems like he's having fun.
Yeah, I do. I think he even said something about wanting to do Spider-Man so he could do wire work and stuff like that. He said that seemed like so much fun.
Right? Yeah. No, he was talking about how people were like, "Why you want to do Spider?" And that was early enough on that I think this would probably be the typical, like, amongst serious actors, which Willem Dafoe is a very serious actor.
Yeah.
They're like, "Why are you doing this Spider-Man movie?" And he's like, "It seems awesome. It seems fun." So yeah, you gotta love that. Boondock Saints is Willem Dafoe. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. It was a firefight.
Not unlike Con Air's Nicolas Cage.
Right. Maybe that's why the writer went to Last Action Hero. Maybe Last Action Hero occupies the same place in their brain as like Con Air or Boondock Saints does in ours. Because those might be their go-to roles for when I think of those guys in my head. But Arnold is definitely not Last Action Hero's Arnold. The movie in which the movie they made in which he's already so famous he's playing a parody of himself in the movie.
Right.
In which the parody movie self of him gets in the real world and interacts with his real world self of him. Like, he's already some other movie's Arnold by that point, okay? It's weird.
It is weird.
Last Action Hero, it's not amazing. Kind of fun. Like,
Sure.
revisiting now, I feel like it's more fun now than it was then.
Oh, yeah.
the parody was almost like the weird super meta parody humor. It's a little basic at times, but it fits now more. Meta
Sure.
comedy is more
Well,
of an
because he
established
was
thing at
huge
this
back
point.
then. It's like, I don't get the joke. But now it's like, oh, yeah, this does happen to action stars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought this was a running bit.
We just list every act. It may become one, That's pretty entertaining.
Wait, Mississippi. I even missed one. Wait, Mississippi Burning's Willem Dafoe. That's actually a good one because not that wasn't like a well-received movie, well-respected, but who thinks about Mississippi Burning now? Also,
Right.
when I don't think Willem Dafoe was he. I'm assuming he was in that, but that's a downer movie, man. That's a good pull though. It's like that where you pull like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not Spider-Man or well, people wouldn't like Antichrist, but even Antichrist.
With Omen 2's Patrick Troughton.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Hey Melanie.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Sorry. Maddie D, you're right. Oh, Jesus. Wait, what was that? What was that movie?
The Last Temptation of Christ.
The Last Temptation of Christ's William Dafoe.
Yep.
Which, at this point, yeah. I mean, in the past, maybe. But even, it's a good pick because it's not a very popular movie.
No.
It's well known, but referring to Last Action Hero, doesn't it have a Lannister in it as a bad guy? It has the Lannister dad as the bad guy in Last Action Hero. You're right.
Yeah. Oh,
He has the fake eye, and at one point it's like wearing he puts it in and it says smiley face for the. It's ridiculous.
Yep. So.
Hey, Melanie,
Yes.
what should we be amazed about?
What you should be amazed about right now is graphene. I'm not sure if I talked about it before. I think maybe I have. But
You did.
yeah, okay. Just this last time? Well, graphene is a material that's like only an atom thick, and it's set up in a lattice like chicken wire. But it's super strong and super conductive and stuff.
Yeah.
But it cost a lot to make. It something like $200,000 or something like that for like a ton of material, which is a lot. Well, some scientists just figured out a way to make it from any solid carbon-based matter, with like plastic waste, rubber tires, all kinds of stuff like that. So basically, we could take our pollution, break it down, turn it into graphene, and put it into electronics, and it actually has an unbelievable amount of uses you could use it for. But they haven't because it's so expensive to make. But now we can freaking turn our trash into it. So this is super exciting, and it's gonna revolutionize things, I think.
That is amazing because that's the material. Isn't that the material you just did one on about how they figured out it could basically generates its own electricity?
Yeah.
And we can harness that to power things from nothing to
Yes.
and
Yeah.
now you're saying we can take all of our insane amounts of plastic and rubber waste that's been clogging up the world and turn it into this thing that can generate its own electricity.
That can generate its own electricity, that can conduct electricity without resistance at almost room temperature, that can be paper thin and hold like ridiculous amounts of weight. This is like, it's an amazing material, and now it's cheap enough that we could actually use it in all of these fields that have been dying to get at it. So that's super exciting. Yep, be amazed. The future is coming.
That actually is amazing and super exciting. Like
Mhm.
just the rapid back-to-back sudden hey, here's this big development with this material. It's amazing. Generates its own electricity. Hey, we can make it out of nothing now.
right.
I hate And here comes like pessimistic nihilism, Randy. I hate that my first thought is, well, we probably won't really see the true benefits of this because the world is set up the way it is. However, that sounds like it should be, in a way, world changing.
Yeah,
And if it's not,
it's because
Take us.
someone
come take us away. We're done.
Yeah.
Let the fish or let the cats finally evolve and take over like they are destined to do.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
But that's kind of the whole thing with the segment, really, because there's stuff it will revolutionize and change things completely all the time. Science is progressing so quickly, and the quicker it progresses, the quicker people learn and change it again and again and again. It's insane. It's probably what's going to kill us even quicker than pollution.
Interesting. Even like it's from the New Yorker, and also, if this is a thing that can be used to better the world, prepare to hear a bunch of articles about how it's probably a negative thing, blah, blah, blah. But even from just 2014, graphene may be the most remarkable substance ever discovered, but what's it for? And like the headline was, fast, strong, cheap, and impossible to use. So, that was just 2014, and now they're just like, hey, here's what we can use it for. That's cool. It's awesome to see.
Yep. It makes me think of Back to the Future, where you just throw your trash in a thing and then
That's what I was thinking, Mr. Fusion. Yeah.
Yep. Well, they need to hurry up and do it, because I want a trash compactor / 3D printer that can cook me food.
Right. Yeah, I want the replicator, and I want whatever that thing was in Transmetropolitan, except not when it takes drugs and gives you
Right.
things.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that was a good one, and that got me excited.
Yay.
Jesse, you got anything exciting or interesting coming up?
I mean, cons are going to be coming back, and so I will have some interesting things, but nothing like super new. But the one thing I did want to like point out, we mentioned Invincible early on in the show, and so if you are interested in hearing more about Invincible, like a review of just Invincible from somebody who has not read the comics and was experiencing it like, for the first time, our friend of the show, Ben Kruger, who has been on an episode of our interview, was it Old School Nights?
It was Grawlix Nights, when Nights was still just like it meant our interview episodes.
Right. Well, he was recently on an episode of the comic. I want to say it right, but it's Comic Comedians. So it's Comic Con, but Comic Comedians podcast, episode 44, and you can find that on Anchor. I believe it's like anchor.fn/comic comedians. But anyways, it was a fun episode. It's a very similar vibe to what we're doing, but it's a bunch of TikTokers. So it's like weird. It's like our TikTok doppelgangers or something.
Is there
Podcast format's too long for TikTokers?
Yeah. So it's like, man, we really had more to say that we couldn't fit into a minute. So we're all starting podcasts. There's a lot of new podcasts that are born of these TikTokers that found each other and wanted to talk longer.
Yeah. Is their theme song comic comedian? Oh, sorry.
It popped in my head too.
If it's not,
No,
it needs
but
to
they
be.
should get the Humble Bundle and make some loops that sound like that.
Yep.
So, Jesse, what you're telling me is I should, is that podedit.com should start a TikTok account.
Oh,
podcast
man.
tips.
Yeah. A lot of, because
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
seeing a lot of new podcasts pop up out of TikTok, actually.
Well, TikTok podcasters, you're not listening, but if you are, you heard all the ums and all the like awkward stutters and mispronunciations right now in this podcast. Those should be gone. They're not, because I'm too busy editing podcasts for people like you that I don't have time to edit this podcast. If you want your show to sound better than this, and it will sound great, podedit.com. Melanie and I will edit that up. That's right. It's Melanie and I. We're working together.
See, the tragedy of this show is we can't afford to pay the one person that could save us. It's like a surgeon in a hospital soap opera. It's like the real tragedy is the only one that was good enough to save him would have been him.
It's true. Grolix cannot afford to pay me to edit it.
No.
Our show can't afford us.
Right. But if you want to help us to maybe someday afford someone like Randy, we have a Patreon. $1 a month. You get bonus shows.
Maddie D asks, will O Comic Con be coming back? He's contemplating going.
I haven't heard. I'm going to guess no on O Comic Con just because I believe the organizer, I think he moved. So he's probably not interested in coming back just to do a convention in Omaha if he doesn't live here anymore.
It's going to be like P Comic Con or some other town.
right.
What a confluency.
Right. For real.
It's real
but in
confluency.
Michigan. Because I think he's in Michigan now.
Michigan.
Michigan. Oh,
if it's
man.
not that, it should be copyright, trademark. We don't even live there, but
we don't even live there. We're not going to make it, but that's what you guys should have.
All right, we're getting too wacky, so we
This is
gotta end the show.
It's setting in.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks Maddie D and Savannah earlier, like an hour and a half ago, and everybody in the future. Thanks for listening. I'll try to get this up in a timely manner. I've been hitting the new episodes have been hitting the feed Monday, but Wednesday at the latest. I'm sorry, I'm to be less timely or less what's the word?
Punctual?
Consistent.
Punctual as we used to be on the podcast feed, but you know, it'll get up there
Eventually.
And if you want to hear more like this, watch more videos, you can see the videos or just listen to the podcasts later, go to grawlixpodcast.com or search Grawlix, Grawlix podcast on Apple Podcast. Is Stitcher still a thing? I feel like nobody promotes Stitcher that much anymore. I think Spotify and Google Podcasts kind of come in and just like swooped up the rest.
Yeah.
But I mean, Stitcher and Castbox and all that, they're still out there. But we're all on all of them.
Yeah.
That's us on all of them.
All of them. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.